for FDR, and NRRDA is a specification. The yellow book, the orange book rather, is one of the guidelines that is has got references to international as well in terms of coming up with those guidelines. That's the book of practice, at least for majority of the PMGSY roads that is being used right now. Of course, there are references to IRC specifications, say for example 89 in that particular code. So none of them actually. Now, if you think about it in a slightly different way, how are you going to because it's an in situ process, and you are going to mix up the materials and try to add an additive, and you are going to get the product that you're looking for. Now, if you want to add an additional layer, first thing that you have to do is to move all these materials to the side, place a fresh drainage layer, then put it back again, and then do the whole process, which is practically not going to be it's not going to be a practical solution. And again, coming back to the question that you have asked, no requirement for a drainage layer is not mandatory in this case.
Sir, in Kerala, we are already doing this technology. We are already using it there, sir, in NH. So already NHI has permitted 10%, 20% like that. So there we are not only doing FDR, we are also doing stabilization. There also we are getting materials from outside, the Murom and other things. There only the case of drainage layer is coming up.
Not exactly CTB, FDR that you are talking about. It's more like a CTB work.
Yes,
where everything
CTB.
is fresh material, and you are basically working on, the existing ground itself.
Yes, sir.
So then
Soil
introducing a layer of just a normal construction that you are doing.
Sir.
So at that point, yes, introducing a drainage layer underneath the stabilized layer, that makes sense if it's a waterlogged area. But ideally, if you ask me, then I don't say that it is a mandatory, absolutely mandatory requirement. But maybe Professor Veeraraghavan is there. He can further comment on this particular topic.
We had this interesting question again and again from Bihar. I think Guru, can you tell this? We have also had discussed a lot about this GSB layer requirement in FDR. Guru, can you tell?
Okay, sir. Actually, this requirement of GSB, especially in the PMGSY roads, if you see that in none of these PMGSY roads, the GSB layer is daylighted. It ends within the embankment. So how exactly the drainage is going to happen? It's a big question mark. Since year 2000, we have been building so many PMGSY roads, and none of these roads are we have the GSB layer to be dilated. That condition is not there. That's the first thing you have to notice. The second thing is that the drainage requirement becomes critical, not everywhere, but in a high rainfall area, especially in a lower rainfall area. I don't know. I don't think this daylighting and this requirement of drainage layer, etc., all those may not count too much. That's second point. Third point is that if you look at this IRCSP 89, they give so many different combination of this pavement cross sections which can be constructed using this cement treated base and cement treated sub base. So in that the provision for this drainage layer at different locations they have indicated, and some of the cross sections which they have indicated, they are even without drainage layer also. So that's why, as Professor Shyam was telling, in the FDR construction, we may not need this particular drainage layer requirement, and that can be overcome because basically the FDR layer is impermeable in nature. Thank you.
That's a very valid question. The only point which Mr. Mohanty is asking is that this layer is likely to crack. We know very well that FDR layer will crack. Similarly, the bituminous layer also may develop cracks, potholes, higher air voids. So some water will get in through the cracks in the FDR layer. If so, the subgrade may get saturated. Perhaps a good surface drainage, as Shyam was mentioning, will enable running of the surface water, and very less water can penetrate. Therefore, the requirement of a GSB may not be required in the case of FDR layers.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Before I leave the last question, sir, this is a very senior professor here. Sir, is there any study going on in composite layer, like combining a FDR or stabilized layer with a cement layer on the side, rigid? Like we are having a semi-rigid layer of FDR or stabilization. Over that, if you are going to lay a rigid pavement, will it help us in reducing the thickness of the rigid pavement, sir? Is there any study going on this, sir? Combining two layers instead of providing a GSV, DLC, over that we go for a rigid layer. So in case we are, instead of GSV, DLC, we are going for a stabilization, whether it is soil stabilization or FDR, over that we lay a rigid pavement. Will the combination work together, sir, by any chance, sir? Thank you,
It will
sir.
definitely work. It will definitely work because you are reusing the material. It is will function similar to that of a DLC. You need not provide another DLC layer. The old pavement material can be built and laid as a FDR, over which you can construct your cement concrete pavement. There will be a savings in aggregates, materials, cost, and definitely an improved performance. Definitely, it can be considered. There are no issues as far as construction is concerned.
Thank you, sir.
So I think research work can be proceed in that side also.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Now I think Narasimha Rao has raised his hands. Can you just give your comments?
Yeah, sir.
Mr. Narasimha.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. Thank you. Sir. It's a very good presentation, sir. I'm a retired superintendent engineer in Andhra Pradesh Panchayat Raj Engineering Department, and at present working as a project advisor to a project, AP Rural Roads project funded by Asian Bank. I want to add one point, sir. Somebody was asking whether flexural strength has to be evaluated for this, sir. I want to add one point in this regard, because FDR is a semi-rigid layer. In rural roads, we are adopted IRC 62 for rigid pavement layer. Previously, rigid pavements were designed for compressive strength, based on compressive strength. But right now, in the present code, we are designing rigid pavements as per IRC 62 for 90 days flexural strength. That is why I think the answer that since this is a semi-rigid layer, the flexural strength is it is required. That's what I want to add, sir. Thank you.
Sir.
Sir, was I audible? I have spoken
Yeah.
to.
It's audible.
Sir, I think I have made my point, sir. I just added something. Because somebody is asked whether flexural strength is required for assessment of this FDR layer. That's why I added this point, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Shyam. Mic is mute, I think. Mic is mute.
Yes, Prasanna. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, it's audible.
Audible, sir. You're audible, sir. Yes.
So was there a question? Or I didn't. I don't.
No, sir. I added.
It was an explanation that.
No, I added a point, sir. I added
Yes.
something. I added.
Yeah,
just,
okay.
I not
Mr. Rao was adding.
I added for somebody
Yeah,
else query
okay.
whether flexural strength was to be evaluated for this layer. That's what I have added based on my experience for rigid pavement design based on SP62, where flexural strength is required, is a grading factor for design of rigid pavements. Since this is a semi-rigid pavement, that's why it is also necessary to take flexural strength into consideration. That's what I added.
Okay, fine. Now, another question. I want to know if there is any project related to FDR with emulsified mixes you came across. Dr. Shyam, have any experience on emulsified mixes?
No, I have not worked with.
Anil has carried out. Anil, you should be able to tell what you have done with emulsified.
But actually, we are just only in a very preliminary stage only. We are not started, sir.
Yeah, there are two methods by which we can do this cold in-place recycling. Either you can use a foam bitumen or you can use an emulsion. I think in Kerala, I think the studies are in progress. The general performance has been found to be good. Either you can use emulsion. The advantage is that it will not crack like this FDR layer. Only there can be rutting. I think it's time that some academic institutions take up the studies on emulsified base courses, or using foam bitumen. Studies have already been carried out. They are performing much better than any other granular layers. So both can be adopted as a coal mixes, as a good base or a binder course.
Okay, thank you, sir. From Ashik K. Asad, the questions are: is the maintenance strategy adopted for the FDR road is in line with that of the conventional FDR, FP? Also, any specific changes for maintenance being considered for the new IRC code on FDR?
We are only currently evaluating the performance here by different academic institutions. I think as far as I am concerned, I do not think that there will be any change in the maintenance practices. That can be a cracking, that can be a pothole. So these things are the conventional maintenance strategies. With a good binder course or base course, these payments are likely to last longer with a lower maintenance requirement. I don't think anything new will be there. At the most, there can be cracks on a like a stabilized basis. Perhaps these cracks can be attended to by any other conventional method of maintenance.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Srijit, I think he has raised hand.
Yes, sir.
Please.
Yeah, Shyam sir, thanks for that excellent presentation. My doubt was regarding the role of the fabric there. Now, I understand it is used as a crack relief layer. So on a long-term sustainability angle, I was thinking, what about the recyclability of all these roads that's being constructed? Thousands of kilometers of roads are being constructed. Why can't we go with a seal coat as a CRL layer, just a normal seal coat, instead of going for a fabric? Because anyway, we are not in the design in the design part. I don't know whether we are including considering any modulus improvement factor or anything like that. But just had a doubt regarding the sustainability part and the recyclability of this fabric being used.
Actually, the use of seal coat may not be very effective option in terms of stopping the propagation of cracks onto the bituminous.
Okay.
It is thickness is less than something like a what do you call it? I forgot names. Chip seal kind of an option where you have a bituminous layer and aggregate spread on top of it. So that might come in handy in that. But again, when you are using bituminous materials as a crack layer, then a crack leaf layer, then the costing has got to be other thing that you have to look at. So again, there are options, but typically preferred one nowadays, at least in India, is the geomembrane that we are using. So obviously, Ace of Construction, a lot of other things are there. So though all these things actually effectiveness is also there. So all these things have contributed to that being used as a preferred choice for this crack leaf layer. Now, in terms of recyclability of this FDR layer, yes, of course, it is possible. I remember that I have mentioned that if you have a geotextile in there, it is not recyclable, right? Now, in this case, if you look at it, the geotextile is being added hardly at about 5 centimeters from the top surface. So a simple milling option can remove this top layer effectively, and all these material that is being, instead of using a reclaimer to remove that, a simple milling option can be able to, I mean, this is just my thought. I'm not giving an answer. It is a practical thing. Please understand that. So this recycling is just starting. You are asking about recycling. So it is a long way ahead. I mean, 10, 15 years ahead. So I don't think that would be that much of a problem, because a milling option can remove this HMA layer and the geogrid geofiber or geotextile that is there. And milling operation can itself, break it down completely. then the question comes in is that going to be effective if it gets reused along with the existing material, along with the FDR that is being recycled? Now that is a little difficult question because the geotextile is a different material altogether when compared to bitumen or the granular layer or the FDR layer underneath. So introducing that milled out section back into the FDR when you are trying to recycle the FDR is something that cannot be answered right away. Possibly we might have to look at the feasibility of that by doing a few simple, experimental studies, and then only that effectiveness can be effectiveness of reutilizing the milled HMA layer can be addressed. I hope I
Okay, sir.
answered
Thanks.
the question.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
I think Mr. Srijit is asking for an alternate material other than this one.
Yeah, that is what I
it
was
that-
wondering, because even if you go for a milling as well, from my experience, it may not be easy if there is some sort of a unless it is a glass grid, even if you are milling an interlayer or an asphalt layer, unless it's a glass grid type of reinforcement, it may not be easy. It will just, it will just get into these, these teeths, even for a milling machine. So that was my concern, because the thing is, kilometers are being constructed now, and I don't know what will happen in the future. That was my doubt. I was thinking that same way, the type of seal where, you spread the bitumen and then you spread the aggregates, type of what you call DBST or SBST. So I was thinking
See,
of
gypsum
that
is
sort of
already
material.
compatible,
Yes.
right? With the
Gypsum-
Yeah.
Are going to be effective, but only problem that can come in is that, see, chip seal on top of it, if you use a larger size gradation material, say for example something like I don't know, DBM or something where the maximum aggregate size is of the order of 20 centimeters, and you have something of a similar size or even less size material that is there on top of this chip seal. Like I'm putting a bituminous layer and I'm spreading aggregates. IRC based, what is the chip seal name? It is a US convention.
Surface dressing.
Surface dressing, yes.
If you are
That's
using a
surface
surface dressing, then you are using a what do you call it? A fine sized aggregate particle on top of it. Now, if you are using a larger size bitumen layer on top of it, which means that bitumen layer is not going to go too much into your surface dressing, which means there is going to be an opening in between the two, which can basically act as a crack relief, because the cracks cannot propagate through because of the voids inside. Now, if you are using that kind of a layer underneath a BC, wherein the fine aggregate particle size is much smaller, which is equivalent to or even less than the chip seal size that we are using, then the cracks actually gets filled up by these finer materials. Pathway through which putting it directly underneath the BC and putting a BC layer on top. That's what my thought is. I mean,
Yeah, in
so
that case, it
could
will
be-
act more or less like the OTA seal, so something like the OTA seal of the South African. Okay, anyway, that.
Okay,
Again, it is just a thought. I mean, it's not
Thank
a
you, sir.
critical answer
Yeah.
that I'm saying, but just a thought.
Amrita,
thank you, sir.
Amrita, do you have?
Sir, yes,
Really?
actually, yes, sir, yes. Thank you for the
Really?
presentation, sir. Actually, I also had this doubt regarding the SAMI layer, in case of its sustainability or recyclability. It's already solved. Sir, I have this doubt regarding the structural design part for the FDR layer. Sir, are we considering this SAMI layer or this CRL for structural design as well?
Amrita, no, this is only a functional layer to retard the cracking. It is not considered as a structural layer in the design.
Okay, sir. Okay. Sir, regarding, I'm speaking totally about the rural roads. Regarding the CBR value, can we conduct a DCP test for collecting the CBR value, determination of CBR value? Inside?
I think Shyam has
Will that
already
do?
shared about that. There are some correlations between the it will not be equivalent to the soaked CBR that you consider for the design. So consider that factor as well when you use the DCP to estimate the CBR.